Hello, my name is Justin Stairs and we're in the Brussels Signal studio in the heart of the EU quarter, and we're very happy to have Elchin Amirbayov here. Welcome and good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Amirbayov is the special representative of the President of Azerbaijan on special assignments, and he's here in Brussels not only to see us, he's also been visiting the Belgian diplomatic offices. Obviously, Belgium is the current president of the rotating EU Council. And if we can go straight into today's news, please, Mr. Amirbayov. The latest we hear is that 4 Armenian soldiers have been killed in a border shootout between Azerbaijan and Armenia. What is the latest information you have?
Well, thank you very much. First of all, it's a pleasure to be with you. Thank you for inviting me to Brussels Signal. Yes, indeed, this news was very unfortunate, but let me tell you that this latest skirmish started yesterday, when after several months of relative calm along the conditional border between Armenia and Azerbaijan, Armenian side violated the ceasefire, and one of their snipers has heavily wounded one of the border guards from Azerbaijani side, and basically that provoked this skirmish, which we very much regret, because it also followed by the loss of life. Azerbaijan was very much committed to this ceasefire regime, because we are in the process of finalizing the text of the peace agreement, so we know how important it is to keep situation calm while diplomats talk, and of course we hope that this incident will not be followed up by further skirmishes. And Azerbaijan has declared on many occasions its full commitment to remain and to maintain its presence in the peace process. We have been in direct touch with the Armenian side, both through exchanging comments on the draft peace agreement, which has been the subject of negotiations between two countries and foreign ministers-led delegations for more than 1 year. In the meantime, in the last months, we had 2 meetings of the border commissions from Armenia and Azerbaijan, led by deputy prime ministers, who are in charge with the task of delimiting the border. Just to explain to our listeners, the border between Armenia and Azerbaijan has never been delimited after both countries have restored their independence in 1991.
Since Soviet time?
Since Soviet time, because in the Soviet Union time, this was just an administrative border between 2 constituent Soviet Socialist republics. And even at that time, this border, which is more than 1,000 kilometers long, was not delimited at one particular portion, which is more than 100 kilometers. So this is the task of the border commission.
Is this where the shootout has occurred?
No,
it's
no.
not.
The shootout occurred at the area which is basically the place where the European Union Observation Mission is located, as far as I understand. And I have here to mention that, unfortunately, lately we have seen some signs that this EU observation mission is not basically fulfilling its initial goal, because the initial goal expected from it was to raise confidence level between Armenia and Azerbaijan and to decrease the tension. As we see, there was some incidents in the last several weeks. We already get used to this practice of regular visits of different ambassadors from EU member states, some military people from some EU member states to this portion of the border, where they take photos, they look binoculars to the Azerbaijani side, they follow up this by some statements. So basically this is something which probably has emboldened the Armenian side, who thought that with the presence of this EU mission they could violate the ceasefire, and which led to these tragic consequences. But in the same time, we believe that both parties have to re-engage sincerely in the search for peace. Here I have to mention that, unfortunately, there is a big inconsistency between what Armenian government at the level of prime minister, foreign minister and other officials say and what are the real actions of Armenian side on the ground.
Could I just stop you there? You mentioned several points. Firstly, back to the shootout. Is the ceasefire over? I mean, I guess you're going to say you hope it's not, but I mean, what is the situation today? Is it calm again or not?
Well, this should be a source of concern because, as I mentioned, after several months of complete quiet, when we didn't have any incidents of this kind, we have, a violation of the ceasefire regime, which ended in the unwarranted heavy wounding of our border guard. And I repeat, these were not regular troops of Azerbaijan. These were not armed forces. It was just border guard. And of course, this as a result of this exchange of fire, we had some casualties. And I of course, I do hope that this will not, degenerate into a permanent violation of ceasefire, because it's been the commitment of both parties to not to resume any military activities, and to try to solve the outstanding issues only through diplomatic channels.
Understood. But are your forces mobilizing on the border now, today?
No, I can't actually comment on that because I don't know, but I don't think that that is the case, because the intention of Azerbaijani side was to send certain signals to the other side that it's not in the interest of peace, it's not in the interest of neither of the two countries to have any further follow-ups to this outburst of violence. And as I said, I mean, it's very unfortunate that the Armenian side decided to violate this regime, which has been there for some months. So hopefully this will not lead to any degradation of the situation or further deterioration, but we will be able to proceed with necessary contacts with the Armenian side to advance further the peace agenda.
Okay, and then the other thing you mentioned was the role of the EU observers. It sounds like you're disappointed, or there's some kind of concern about the role of the EU in this conflict. Could you explain a bit more?
Well, I wouldn't basically expand it to the role of EU in general, because the major bulk of EU's engagement in this normalization process between Armenia and Azerbaijan was the role played by the President of the European Council, Mr. Charles Michel, a former Belgian Prime Minister, who's been engaged in a facilitation role since summer of 2021.
Okay.
So his role and his personal engagement and involvement are highly praised in Azerbaijan, because we really believe that he has invested a lot of effort into that. Here we're talking about an EU observation mission, which was basically formed with a clear mandate to ensure their presence, and through their presence in this Armenian territory, to increase the level of confidence between Armenia and Azerbaijan. What is clear today is that because of this so-called binocular diplomacy, it's not being attained. I think the effect is counter to that, and unfortunately, maybe, I'm not insisting on that, but the fact that the Armenian soldiers have decided to open the fire was somehow related with this sensation of emboldenment that they may have.
I'm trying to understand how that works. You say because the EU had observers there, the Armenians took advantage of their presence. Aren't the observers on both sides of the border?
No, the observers are only on the Armenian side, because the terms of them being in Azerbaijan were not agreed upon. And basically this bigger, larger presence of EU was something which was decided upon without Azerbaijani involvement. At the same time, what I'm trying to say is that these frequent visits by different EU officials, including ambassadors, but also the military personnel, looking at Azerbaijani positions through binoculars, taking photos and then distributing this in different social media and claiming that it is because only of them that Azerbaijan is not attacking Armenia. These are not the steps which are aimed at increasing confidence between the two parties, and moreover, they are not reflecting the reality. The fact that there is no violence, or there has not been any violence along the border, was because Azerbaijan was taking very seriously its commitment to observe this ceasefire and to try to find solution to outstanding problems by talks.
Understood. So how would you describe relations today between the European Union and Azerbaijan?
The relations between European Union and Azerbaijan have already a long history. They are very diverse. They are not limited only to the facilitation role by EU in normalization of relations between Armenia and Azerbaijan. You know that one of the pivotal points of our relations has always been a cooperation in energy. Azerbaijan since 2006 has been a reliable contributor to energy security of Europe, and this role has even been strengthened in the context of the continuing war between Russia and Ukraine. And as you know, there was a strategic partnership document signed a couple of years ago in Baku during the visit of the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, with President of Azerbaijan, Ilham Aliyev,
yes,
when Azerbaijan decided to commit itself to double the volumes of natural gas.
Understood.
And today, the geography of EU member states recipients of natural gas is increasing. So we are more than 10 countries already are doing that. Besides energy and energy security chapter, we have a strong interest from both sides to develop cooperation in the field of connectivity, because if you look at the map, given the geopolitical circumstances of today, the Ukraine-Russia conflict, and then also the fact that from the South Caucasus you have Iran, which is under certain sanctions. So we have a clear understanding that South Caucasus and Central Asia could be so-called middle corridor, which could facilitate the trade volumes from Asia to Western Europe. And from this point of view, European Union is interested in deepening its cooperation with
so there is
Azerbaijan.
potential for more cooperation.
Yeah, but even if we talk about energy, we are also very much engaged with European Union in this issue of green transition, in the renewable energies. Azerbaijan already has started this transition to renewables, and since Azerbaijan will be hosting in November of this year the COP29 event, that also gives additional opportunities for Azerbaijan and European partners to engage in cooperation to make sure that COP29 is a success, but also in assisting each other in this, ensuring this green transition.
Okay, please allow me to come back to the tensions, because there have been, you've described what are positive, good relations between your country and the European Union. Nevertheless, there have been people such as the Parliament, such as Josep Borrell, for example, the High Representative, who have talked about concerns regarding territorial claims by President Aliyev. And this is obviously, I raised this subject when the ambassador came into the Brussels Signal studio last year. Does Azerbaijan have any territorial claims in Armenia?
Well, thank you for this question, because I'm using this opportunity to completely reject these allegations. We find these pronouncements by Mr. Borrell as not reflecting at all the reality. We consider these as baseless accusations, but we also proceed from the understanding that European Union, in the person of Charles Michel, is interested in the further development of ties between Azerbaijan and European Union, including as far as the European Union's facilitation role is concerned. Azerbaijan has no territorial claims to Armenia. Azerbaijan struggled all these decades only to achieve the restoration of its territorial integrity and sovereignty, because as you probably know, for almost 28 years, the former Nagorno-Karabakh region and 7 adjacent regions around it have been under illegal foreign occupation of the Republic of Armenia. And this complete restoration of territorial integrity and sovereignty of Azerbaijan was achieved only last September. And now, when Azerbaijan has dealt with the major obstacle towards peace, that is the illegal foreign military presence of Armenian armed forces in the sovereign territory of Azerbaijan, we do stand a big chance to achieve final peace, the peace which could be sustainable and which could be embodied in the peace agreement to be completed by Armenia and Azerbaijan. But also we have to settle many other issues which are standing in the way to peace.
Such as?
For example, we have to be clear that Armenia has no territorial claims to Azerbaijan. It may be surprising to you to hear this, but when Prime Minister Pashinyan and his team are talking about recognition of Azerbaijan's territorial integrity and that they recognize the sovereignty of Azerbaijan over its Karabakh region, as a matter of fact, the constitution of Armenia still contains territorial claims to Azerbaijan because it has a reference to Declaration of Independence, which was adopted in 1991, where a legitimate decision on unification of Armenian Soviet Socialist Republic with Karabakh region of Azerbaijan was endorsed.
Okay.
So besides that, the Armenian parliament has adopted a series of laws which prohibit any Armenian official to sign any document with any country that would imply the recognition of Azerbaijan's sovereignty over this region. In addition to that, after the end of the Second Karabakh War, since 2020, Armenia has lodged numerous legal cases against Azerbaijan at ICJ and the European Court of Human Rights. The documents to these cases, they clearly attest territorial claims of Armenia to Karabakh region of Azerbaijan.
Okay, these are issues that would be settled via peace talks. I should point out that you have been involved in the peace talks, correct?
Yes, exactly. We expect Armenia to pay serious attention to all these requests from Azerbaijani side, because without addressing these issues, we cannot address the problem of confidence. Confidence and trust are the necessary elements for both Armenia and Azerbaijan to go ahead. But when you still have occupied territories of Azerbaijan, because four villages of Azerbaijan located in the northwestern region of Kazakh have been still under Armenian occupation since 1991. And we have been demanding Armenia to withdraw their troops from those regions. So as you can see, problems are
outstanding
many.
issues.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to finish off on these territorial claims, because there have been concerns regarding the Zangezur corridor, and which could potentially link up with the Nakhchivan exclave. Now, I just want to give you a chance to say again, you're saying there are no territorial claims on this area. Is that correct?
This is completely correct. Azerbaijan has made it clear on numerous occasions that while seeking communication connection between two parts of Azerbaijan, we do not imply that this communication line should be restored, because it existed during the Soviet time, at the expense of Armenian sovereignty. What we are saying is that Armenia has to respect the commitments it has undertaken, and one of the commitments proceeding from the trilateral ceasefire agreement, which was signed in November 2020 by Azerbaijan, Armenia and Russia, they have agreed to provide this linkage between two parts of Azerbaijan, because in such a way this Nakhchivan Autonomous Republic, it will put an end to its isolated status.
Okay.
So we do not harbor any territorial claims to Armenia. We do not want to force this corridor through by military means. What we want is to for Armenia to understand the benefits of linkage, not only between two parts of Azerbaijan, but this is a pivotal. This may be one of the pivotal elements of an alternative middle corridor, because imagine today Armenia, completely isolated from any regional economic projects because of its conflict with Azerbaijan and unsettled issues with Turkey, is completely out of the game. So what we try to do is to make it a win-win situation, also for Armenia to benefit from peace. But if they do not want to realize the benefits of it, we're not going to push for that. We have an alternative plan.
Goal will not be achieved by military means. That's what you're saying.
No, because we have plan B for that. And if Armenia doesn't want this linkage to pass through its territory, we are ready to do it through Iran. And that's why we are already engaged in discussions with the Iranian side to build this connection of railroad through their territory.
Okay. Now, I'll leave that subject. Let's go on now back to EU relations, because what you described a very positive picture of relations with the EU. Nevertheless, France plays a big role in the European Union. I know that President Macron has also been involved in the region personally. Is it the case that Azerbaijan expelled 2 French diplomats at the end of last year? Is that true?
Well, yes, actually, there was an expulsion of 2 officials of the French embassy in Azerbaijan. because of their activities which were not considered to be compatible with their diplomatic status.
That means spying, I guess.
Well, it's you who said that, but obviously they were not doing what they were supposed to do as diplomats. But in any case, I think that going back to your question between EU and Azerbaijan relations, I think that we proceed from the understanding that European Union is not only one individual state, it's 27 member states. European Union has its own interest in preserving and consolidating stability and security in its immediate neighborhood. As you know, both Armenia and Azerbaijan are part of the European Union's Eastern Partnership Program. So we do believe that it's in the interest of European Union as a whole to make sure that Armenia and Azerbaijan are allowed to seize this window of opportunity which exists there to turn finally the page of hostility, to finalize negotiations on the peace agreement, and then to eventually become good neighbors who could benefit, from this peace, so long-awaited peace, awaited by not only countries but the people who have suffered for so long from this.
Understood. And of course, there was a defense agreement between France and Armenia last year, correct?
Yes, I think that the fact that Armenia is trying to sign more and more contracts to purchase new lethal and offensive armaments is not going very much in harmony with what they declare as their desire to find peaceful solution with Azerbaijan, because the acquisition of lethal weapons from many countries in the world, including from one of the leading EU member states, France, I think that it is the step in the wrong direction, because basically it pushes both Armenia and Azerbaijan into an unnecessary and very dangerous arms race. And this is not what we expect from European partners and nations. We want to move in the opposite direction. That is to forget about any military solutions to remaining problems, but to re-engage in peaceful, meaningful and result-oriented activities. And unless Armenia takes care of this territorial claims philosophy against Azerbaijan, which I just partially illustrated to you, because there are some other steps, we will be finding it difficult to believe in their sincerity. On the one hand, you cannot speak about peace, and then you cannot try to redress some of the legal issues related to your claims towards a neighboring country, and you cannot beef up your military potential
at the same time.
At the same time.
Okay. Just two more subjects, if I may. We have had the President Aliyev has been re-elected with 92% of the vote. Is that correct?
Yes, the latest figures, which were confirmed by the Constitutional Court, are 92% of support.
Now, how do you react to claims, for example, by the OSCE that the elections that were, how should I put it, that were unfair in the sense that there weren't legitimate competitors, other candidates?
Yeah, I have read the conclusions of the OSCE observation mission carried out by ODIHR, Office for Democratic Institutions and Human Rights. They do not put into question the legitimacy of the elections. Moreover, the results which were announced today, they show the absolute support by the Azerbaijani electorate to President Ilham Aliyev, because if you look at the degree of support he got when he last was elected, it was above 80%. So the fact that he has garnered even bigger support could be explained also by the fact that he, through his leadership, has been able to fulfill the dream of the absolute majority of Azerbaijani population, who has suffered for almost 3 decades from a violated territorial integrity and sovereignty. Can you imagine that at the height of the occupation, every seventh Azerbaijani citizen was either refugee or internally displaced persons? All of the cultural heritage of Azerbaijan has been destroyed. These areas which were touched by the 3 decades of conflict have been completely vandalized. And now when we have finally restored historical justice and also our territorial integrity, of course, this is a sign of unequivocal support by the entire population of Azerbaijan to its leader.
92% is a huge score.
That's right, and that speaks volumes about the degree of confidence that the population of Azerbaijan is
and
placing in him.
And you could say it also shows that there aren't any other real contenders. Why
yes,
is that?
Well, because I think that the course which was chosen by President Aliyev and the results that course has brought, it shows that basically we do not have any alternative political figure or force today in Azerbaijan which can compete with him. And I think that the people of Azerbaijan is giving him just due credit.
Okay, let's move on. Gaza. Israel, Hamas, what is your country's position, please?
Well, the position of Azerbaijan, who has itself suffered for so many years from conflict, is of course, to have this situation resolved without any further bloodshed. Too much blood was spilled, and I think that the violence should be put to an end. And I think that the entire international community should be given a chance to achieve, the solution of this problem, because we ourselves suffered a lot from this. We have lost, tens of thousands of our citizens as a result of this conflict. Even if parties are not in agreement with each other, of course they should try to resolve it at the table of the negotiation.
Does that mean you're in favor of a ceasefire?
Well, basically, we want this bloodshed to stop, and of course, and if the ceasefire is achievable, of course, we would appreciate this opportunity for it to be achieved.
Am I right in thinking that your country is majority Muslim? I don't know what the ethnic makeup is.
Yes, Azerbaijan is a secular republic where religion is separated from state by constitution, but also as a mode of life. At the same time, the absolute majority of the country are Muslims. Most of them are Shias, but also there are Sunnis. At the same time, it's a country with a multi-ethnic and multi-religious composition. We have all the other major religions represented. And it is one of the models of peaceful coexistence of countries coming from different religions and ethnic groups. We have more than 50 ethnic groups represented in Azerbaijan whose rights are ensured as equal rights by constitution and also by law. And we are very proud of this diversity, because right. I think that it gives an additional strength to the resilience of Azerbaijan as a nation.
And then you mentioned Nagorno-Karabakh, and I just wanted to come back to it. Last time your ambassador was here in the studio, we talked about the refugees, the ethnic Armenians who had fled Nagorno-Karabakh, around 100,000. Are there any left?
Well, let me just kindly invite you to follow the new terminology, because Nagorno-Karabakh used to be a Sovietism which was created. Today we have Karabakh region of Azerbaijan. So Nagorno-Karabakh is an obsolete and dysfunctional name of that. Secondly, yes, when we talk about displaced populations, of course, it's an issue which is relevant to both countries. Because if you look at the beginning of the conflict, in Armenia, before the start of the conflict, we had 300,000 of ethnic Azerbaijanis who were subjected to ethnic cleansing. And moreover, inside Azerbaijan, you had 750,000 Azerbaijanis who became IDPs, so-called internally displaced persons. The difference between the two being that one of them crossed the international border, these are refugees, and the others were not. So, of course, as a result of this one-day anti-terror measure which was undertaken by Azerbaijani side to put an end to illegal foreign military presence in our territory, it led to the departure of the majority of Armenian population from the Karabakh region of Azerbaijan. But it wasn't done under the pressure from Azerbaijan. It was a voluntary decision by this population, which was encouraged by the local separatist leaders to do so. Nevertheless, if you look at the Shia figures, this operation was done with the surgeon precision. There was no casualties among the civilian population, and of course we even tried to encourage them not to leave and to stay, because they would have enjoyed the same rights according to our laws and constitution as the rest of the population. But since they decided to leave this territory either under pressure from their separatist leaders or on them because out of fear, I mean, we of course regret that, but it doesn't mean that Azerbaijan is responsible for that.
But are there any left, or have they all
There are
gone?
some left. I don't have exact figures, but those who are left, they are basically taken care of by Azerbaijani government, but also they have regular visits by ICRC, for example. They are visited also by the ombudsperson of Azerbaijan, and I think that the Russian peacekeeping contingent, which is still in Azerbaijani region of Karabakh, they also are, extending their protection mandate over those people. So these people are doing fine, and they their immediate needs are being met by the Azerbaijani side.
And of those who have left, would they be welcome to return?
Actually, Azerbaijan has already declared at the moment when they decided to leave the country that they preserve the right to go back. Of course, we want them to reintegrate the Azerbaijani society if they wish so. At the same time,
which means what? That means
which means that they should adopt
nationality?
Azerbaijani nationality.
Right.
They should become responsible citizens of Azerbaijani state as the rest of the population. But of course, this is not the decision that Azerbaijan can impose on them. It should stay within their choice, and it should be a very well thought out decision of them. But again, I think that the more we will move forward towards the final resolution of this confrontation or this rivalry between Armenia and Azerbaijan, I think that the more will be the chances that people belonging to national minorities from both sides would be able to have the right to go back to their homes. I would advise also everyone not to forget the right of 300,000 of ethnic Azerbaijanis, to whom I referred earlier in our conversation, who were evicted from their homes. So they should also be, their rights also should be ensured, so that they could go and visit at least the tombs of their relatives, or they could, relocate their homes because they were left without nothing.
Mr. Amirbayov, thank you very much for visiting us today at the Brussels Signal Studio. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your interest, and I wish you all the best.
And thank you for watching.